Hello students, welcome to the video tutorial of Informatics Practices for class 11th. Today we'll be discussing the third part of the chapter, Flow of Control. In the previous videos, we have already discussed what is the importance of looping statements, what are the statements and which type of statements which can be used for the Python programming, like the compound statements, the simple statements. Okay, so today we'll discuss about the nested if statements. Okay, if statement we have already discussed that inside the if statement there is a certain set of header which is followed by the body of that if statement. Okay, so inside that if statement we are writing the body, and whatever the execution is there, it is done accordingly. Okay, so let's see what is the nested if statement. So inside this nested if statement, we can say that sometimes above discussed forms of if are not enough. Okay, there may be a possibility that whatever we have written in the statements, that is not able to complete the entire task. Okay, or maybe the task is a bit complex. Okay, so for that you may need to test additional conditions. For such situations, Pythons also support nested if form of if. Okay, that means the statement of if will only be taken, but it is in the nested form. Okay, a nested if is an if that has an another if in its ifs body. Okay, matlab what you can say that whatever the things you are using inside the if body, that is already containing another if statement. Okay, so that is a nesting. Okay, so if body is followed by another if body. Okay, so the nested if can have one of the following forms. First form is if inside ifs body. In this you can see we are having the if header, and the conditional expression of the test expression is there. Okay, then inside that again we are having an if header, and inside that if header again we are having a conditional expression or the text expression. Okay, and the statements are being followed with the if header. Okay, now if the condition is true for this if condition, the statements will be followed, but if the condition is false, it will go to the else part, and the statements which are mentioned in the else body will be covered. Okay, now here you can see we have given an indentation level of elif also. Okay, so what happens if this condition becomes false? Right now we have discussed that if this condition is true, so it will be followed by the internal loops, this one. Okay, but what if this condition is false? So in that case we will go to this elif part. Okay, and it is not necessary that this elif will be true. We will have to see whether the conditional expression or the text expression is being satisfied or not. If that is also satisfied, then we will go to the elif's body, and here the statements which are mentioned will be executed. Okay, and if the condition is false for this also, we will go to the else part, and in else part the statements will be followed. Okay, so in this program you can say the condition is being held with the help of three parts. First we'll go to this if part. If the condition becomes true, we'll go to the inner if, and for this inner if again we will check the condition. If the condition becomes true, then this statement will be followed. If the condition becomes false, we'll go to the else part, and then this statement will be followed. Now if this condition was not true, in that case we will go to this elif condition and we'll check the conditional test expression. And now if this condition becomes true, the statements will be followed. Now if this becomes false, the else part will be executed, and this will be the final termination of the program. Okay, so this was the form 1, that is if inside ifs body. Now let's see the second part, that is if inside elif's body. Now this if will be inside the elif's body. Earlier we were having if inside the if body. Now we are having if inside the elif's body. So what is there? If conditional expression. Okay, now this condition will be checked first whether this condition is true or not. If the condition is true, then this set of statements will be followed. Okay, these statements will be executed. Now if this statement is followed by a certain set of statements, now that statements will also be executed. Okay, so that's why we have put the plural form of the statement, that is statements. That means multiple set of statements. Okay, now if this condition becomes false, it will go to the elif part, and in this elif part again the conditional expression is given. Okay, now this conditional expression will test the condition. If it is satisfied or it is giving the true result, it will go to the inner if, and the inner if that again a conditional expression is given, that conditional expression will be taken in the execution, and the test condition will be followed. If this becomes true, we'll follow these statements, but if it becomes false, it will go to this else part and the else statement will be executed. Now what if this elif was wrong? That means this statement is also wrong and this statement is also wrong. Then it will go to this else part and the statements will be executed and finally the program will be terminated. Okay. So that means we are having three cases here also. Either this is true or this is true. And if this both are not true, that means the else will be taken as a true part and that program will be finally terminated in this else part. Okay. This was the second form, that is the if inside else body. Now let's see what is the third part. Third is the if inside else body. Now how we can execute the program if the if body is inside the else body. Now see how you can do this. First, again, a if conditional expression will be there. If that condition becomes true, the set of statements will be executed. But if the condition becomes false, it will come to this elif statement. Okay. Now in this elif statement, again the conditional expression will be tested and the validation of the expression will be tested. If it becomes true, then these set of statements will be executed, and if it becomes false, the else part will be executed. Now in this else part, you can see we have again put an if and else condition. That means in else condition also we are going for a certain set of criteria. Now this certain set of criteria is based on this conditional expression. If this conditional expression becomes true, then this set of statements will be followed. Otherwise, if it becomes false, the else part will be executed and this else statement will be followed by the termination of the program. Okay. So in this case, again, we are having three conditions. Either this condition will be true or this will be true, or if these both are false, we'll go to the else part, and again inside the else part we will check if and else, and if this condition is true, this will be executed, or if it becomes false, the else will be executed and finally the program will be terminated. Okay, this was the form 3. Now we'll move to the form 4, that is if inside ifs as well as else or else body, that is multiple ifs inside. That means what we will do here, we will write the if conditional expression. Then inside this if, again we are having an if and the certain set of statements is there, then else is there, then the statements is there. Okay. So you can follow the same criteria from the form 1, form 2 and form 3, and then the condition will be executed. Okay. So same thing cannot be reminded many a times. Okay. So you can explain by these three examples already. Okay. Only yet to see if the indentation level is the same. That means here you can see this and this and this is having the same indentation level. So if you are talking about the same indentation level, that means they are the separate set of statements. But if there is a indentation gap, that means it is creating a body of that header. Okay. So here you can see this is an indentation level difference here. That means this is followed by this body. Okay. But this is an individual part and this is again an individual part. Getting it? Now let's move further. Now see, you have written in a nested if statement, either there can be if statements in its body of if or in its body of elif or in its body of else. Okay. So recall that you use nested if unknowingly in program 5.3, isn't okay. So whatever the things you have used in program 5.3 we have already discussed. So we are not going to recall it again. Okay. We have already done that in the example 5.3. Now let's see in another example which is strictly based on this program to print sum of natural numbers between 1 to 7 and print the sum progressively, that is after adding each natural number print sum so far. Now how it has to be executed, let's see the program first. The program is saying that first you have to take a variable sum with a value 0. Okay, then for n in range 1 comma 8 you have to go for sum plus equal to n. Sum plus equal to n means what you have to do, you have to start the n from 1. Okay, then starting n is equals to 1, so sum is having 0, so sum plus equal to n means what, 0 plus 1. So initially sum will have one value, then this again will print the sum of the natural numbers is equal to, then n is equals to given as 1, is sum is equals to 1 plus 0, that is 1. So first line will be executed, sum of natural number 1 is 1. Okay, now what will happen, this loop will continue. Now the next value will be 2. So what this range function is doing, actually this range is having certain set of values inside this bracket. This is treated as the starting value. So here you can see in range we have written 1, so 1 is the starting value and 8 is the stopping value, but actually it stops a one integer before. That means if the value is written as 8, so it will terminate at 7. Okay, if we would have written here 10, so it will be terminated at 9. Okay, so it will stop just one number earlier. Okay, so here you can see for n in range 1 comma 8, so it will start from 1 and it will go to 7. Okay, so initially it will take 1, and for 1 it will be executed. Now sum plus equal to n, that means n is equals to 1 and sum was earlier 0, so 0 plus 1 is equals to 1. So the first line will be executed. Then n will become 2. Then we will go for this sum plus equal to n, that means sum equal to sum plus n. So earlier sum was having 1, now 1 plus 2 will become 3. So we will write this sum of natural numbers is less than equal to 2 is 3. Then again n will become 3. Then sum will be added with the n, that means sum equal to sum plus n. And since sum was having 3 earlier, so 3 will be added with next 3, that will 3 plus 3 become 6. Okay, now this will be written print sum of natural numbers. So again you can see here it is mentioned sum of natural numbers less than equal to 3 is 6. Okay, and similarly the same loop is being repeated by and by. Okay, and it will end at 7. So last value will be print sum of natural numbers less than or equal to 7 is, and whatever the sum has been taken out, that will be mentioned. Okay, so it will terminate at 7. Why 7? Because already I have told that in range you have used 1 to 8, that means it will start from 1 and it will end at 7. Okay, now see, you can see the second program also programmed to print sum of natural numbers between 1 to 7. Now here you can see sum is equals to 0. Now it has told you that you have to create sum of natural numbers. Okay, so all the numbers are natural between 1 to 7. Okay, if you are talking about the integers, then it will terminate at 7. That means you have to use the range from 1 to 8. Okay, and then sum plus equal to n means what? You have to start from 0, then 0 plus 1 equal to 1, and 0 plus 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. So similarly this loop will be executed. Now only the difference here is that we have written this print sum of natural numbers outside this loop, so it will be printed only once. Why? Because earlier it was inside this for statement. So since it was inside this for statement, so how many times the for will be executed, the similar number of times this print statement was also being executed. But now what we have done, we have placed this print inside this loop to the outside of this loop. Okay, the indentation has been changed, and now it is at the same indentation level as the for. So this will be this print statement will be executed only once, and that will be at the end of the program. Okay, so it will terminate the program with the final value of n and with the final value of sum. So the sum of natural numbers less than 7 is 28. So that will be the output. That means you can see the last line which was executed, that will be executed finally here, and the program will be terminated. Okay, this is the way for using the indentation. That means how you are going to use the indentation level, and how you are going to separate the certain set of statements from the earlier set of statements. Okay, now also we have used here range function, so you don't have to be worried about the range function. Also if it comes in exams, you have to write that range function is being used with the help of for loop, and inside the for loop and inside the range function we used to give three values. First one is the starting value, then second one is the stopping value, and the third value which is given inside the range will be the step value. Step means how many steps you have to take, you have to miss some values or not. Okay, for that it is used. Now here you can see the nested loop. Now let's see this program. This is a very interesting program here. For I in range 1 comma 6 colon, for j in range 1 colon I, here what will happen, you have written print asterisk, so it will print the star sequence. Okay, so first what will happen, it will start from I, and the starting value of I will be 1. So for I equal to 1, it will start taking the values of j, so j will also start from 1. So at this line what we are having, I as 1 and j as 1, so we will print star here. Okay, so since it is going from 1 to 1, it will create a problem for you. Why? Because I is also having 1 and 1 is here also you are having 1. So from 1 to 1 it will go, it will create a problem. So you have to write here I plus 1. Okay, just correct this program here. What you have to do here, you have to write I plus 1. So since I plus 1 will have 2, it will go from 1 to 1. Okay, so it is only true for 1. So here only one star will be printed. Now here also you can see an n argument is introduced. What is the use of n argument? It will just keep the control of the cursor at the same line. It will not go to the next line. What happens in Python, the default cursor moves to the next line when you are printing something. Okay, but what we want here, we want to keep the cursor at the same line for this stance. Okay, so number of stars whatever we are printing can be printed in the same line. So here only one star was needed, so end argument is given here and end argument will place the cursor here only. Now this statement is followed by this print statement, and this print statement is having blank parenthesis, that means it will move the cursor to the next line. So what it is mentioned already here, it hashtag to cause printing from the next line. Okay, so whatever the printing will be there, that will start from the next line because of this print statement. So this will keep the cursor here and this will move the cursor to the next line. So for the first statement only it is true for 1 to 1, that means only one star is printed. Now this loop will move to 1 comma 2. Okay, only it can be possible when it has also moved to 2. So what will happen, first you have to increase the value from here, so it will move to 2. Now this for j in range 1 comma 2 will happen, then 1 comma 2 will move to 2 stars, and then 2 stars will be printed here, and the end argument will place the cursor here, and this print statement will move the cursor to the next line. Similarly, this time it will be printed from 1 to 3. So again 3 stars will be printed here. The cursor will be here because of this end argument, and the print statement will follow here and it will move the cursor to the next line. Okay. Now here it will end till 5. So this will also end till 5. So 1 to 5 means 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many stars you are having total? 4. So what will happen here, when you will print the star sequences, here it will move to the 4 lines of a star, that means first star, second star, third star and fourth star, and then end argument will be there, and this print will move the cursor to the next line. But since after this the program is terminated, nothing will be printed. Okay, so this is the proper solution for this program, how you can use this looping statements. Okay, and based on this sequence you can create multiple looping statements and multiple star patterns. Okay, it is not necessary that you are going to print only star. You can print that has hashtag symbol and then dollar symbol or percentage, whatever the things required you can create. Okay, a variable name can also be given in the same variable label. Variable name can be printed in multiple ways, in the pyramid pattern or in the star sequence, whatever you want, whatever the desire is. Okay, so all this depends upon the print statement, that what you have given inside this print body. If you have written asterisk here, it will print asterisk or the star. Okay, if you would have given dollar symbol here, so the output will be according to the print statement. That is, if it is dollars there, then here also dollars will be represented. Okay, so this was for the nested loops. Okay, now let's see the final program here, to program to illustrate a nested for loop. Now here you can see, for outer in range 5 comma 10 comma 4, that means it will start from 5, it will go till 10, but it will stop just one number before, that means it will go till 9. Getting it? Whatever the stopping value is there, you have to stop just one number earlier. Okay, and here the step is given 4, that means you have to leave 3 values. Okay, so it will start from 5, and for 5 outer will be 5 and inner will go from 1 to outer, that means 1 to 5 comma 2, and then print outer comma inner. So what will be the outer value first? It is 5, and inner will be 1. So first will be printed as 5 comma 1. Then what will happen, this inner loop will further continue and it will go to the next value. That means outer has to be taken every one step, with every one step gap. Okay, so it will start from 1 and then it will leave 2 and it will become 3. Okay, so what it will be the output here, for 5 again you are having 3, so the next output will be 5 comma 3. But after this 3, if you take the gap of 4 and you move to 5, this cannot be executed because 5 was the maximum value. So you cannot cross the, you cannot exceed the maximum value, so this loop will be terminated for 5. Now the next value of 5 will be taken from here, that is outer value will be taken from here, and after 5 we have to leave 3 values, that is 6, 7 and 8. So the next value will be 9, so for 9 also it will be executed, and for 9 it will go like this, for inner in range 1 comma 9 comma 2. So the first value will be outer comma inner, that is from here we have got 9 and from here we are getting 1, so first value will be 9 comma 1. Then again we will take a gap of value, that is 9 comma 3, then 9 comma 5, then 9 comma 7, and again this loop will be terminated, it will go to the first outer loop. Now since you are not having any value after that, because already you have taken 3 steps gap, that is 6, 7, 8, After that, you have to take three values gap, then it will become 9, 10, 11. But the maximum value is 10 here, so you cannot exceed the maximum level. So you have to terminate this loop here, and whatever the output should be there, we have already got it. Okay, so this is the explanation also what I have given here. So you can see here it has shown the change in the outer value and change in the inner loop, how it is executed. Inner loop got over after value 3 iteration, that means after 3 iteration it got over, and here after 7 iteration it got over. Okay, so whatever the explanation I have given you, it is the same mentioned here. You don't have to go for this, just uh, listen to the video lectures carefully and you will get it. Okay, this is the way for the programming. Now see the last program here. For a in range 3, for b in range 5 comma 7, print for a equal to, then comma a, then comma b now is b. Now what will happen here? For a in range 3, that is you have to start the a from 0, then it will go till 2. Why? Because you have written here for a in range 3, so it will take values like 0, 1, 2. 3 will not be executed because 3 is the last value, so it has to stop just one value earlier. So here a will go from 0, then 1, then 2. So for 0, b in range 5 comma 7 is taken. So here for a equal to, a is having 0 and b in starting is having 5. So you have written for a equal to 0, b now is 5. Now this will move to the next number, that is 6. So it will write for, and a is still same, that is 0. So for a is equals to 0, b now is 6. Okay, now this a has to increase because this loop is terminated already, because you cannot exceed the 7 value. Already you have gone 5 and 6, but you cannot go till 7 because 7 is the maximum value. So this loop is terminated. Now you will again increase the value in this. Now a will become 1. So for a equal to 1, again it will go for 5 and then 6. So for a equal to 1 it is 5, and then for a equal to 1 it is 6. Then again this loop will be terminated, and again this loop will be continued, and in this continuation of loop you will increase the value to 2. So again for 2 it is having 5, and then for 2 is again it is having 6. This will be the order of the sequences. Okay, but since after 2 this loop will be terminated, that is the 3 is the maximum value and you cannot move till 3. That means the maximum value is here for this outer range is 2. So already you have covered till 2, so you cannot move a loop forward. So this loop is terminated here, and since both the outer loops and the inner loops are terminated, the whole program is terminated now. And the system will come to, oh, sorry, the cursor will come to a halt, and whatever the output was there you will get. Okay, so this is the way for using the loopings here. Okay, maybe in other classes we will try for further more programs to give you the explanation. I've already created the PDF of the questions, so you will get certain set of questions there also. Okay, so till then, take care. We'll meet in the next video lecture. Thank you, students.